Howdy, I'm Jiva DeVoe, and on today's episode of the Green Jeep Adventures, I'm going to show you my best ever photograph. To be clear, it's my best photo so far, and I'm going to tell you the story behind it because the reality is it almost didn't happen. Stay tuned. All right, and just like that, we are heading out of Yosemite.
So let's see. The valley looks incredible out here to the left. I'm looking forward
to driving into this. This is going to be amazing.
I love you, and this should be a fun day.
It's going to be a fabulous day, and it is really beautiful out there.
Yosemite National Park is the epitome of what an American national park is all about. And with the national park system being under attack in the United States, it seemed like a really important moment to go to Yosemite and see it and share it with people. Honestly, this fog is thick enough. I'm not sure we could have left before now. Well, it's our last day in Yosemite, and we're working our way down from the Airbnb right now. And I'm going to turn on the 3D camera in the back for the tunnel view because I think that'll be extraordinary. I think I'm also going to shoot a couple shots as we're coming down the mountain as well because the stuff out the windows is just amazing. So that should be cool, and that'll be in 3D, 360 degrees. And then we're going to head down into the Yosemite Valley, and we're going to do the Lower Yosemite Falls walk before we get back into our trucks and head for Santa Rosa. And we're in Santa Rosa. We're going to stay at a vineyard tonight, and then tomorrow we're going to drive up the coast. And a couple days after that, we'll be back in Oregon. Thanks again for coming with us. This has been an incredible trip, far better than I expected. I'll tell you what, Yosemite has exceeded my expectations by far, by far. So in terms of what I expected out of Yosemite, I think I was hoping to get some nice landscape photos and some landscape 3D. Like I felt like the waterfalls would make for some nice 3D footage and so forth. I have always wanted to get some good photos of wildlife, but that's very difficult. That's hit or miss. And I wasn't sure if that's something that I could get, but if that were to happen too, I would sure love that. Every minute I could sit in this valley, minute to minute, and take photos of the same thing over and over again and get different photos every time. I don't think I have ever been somewhere like that before. So on our first day at Yosemite, I was very nervous to commit myself to 3D footage because I wasn't really sure if I was going to be able to capture it and capture it well. Yosemite is magical. Yosemite is incredible. Absolutely. It's one of the most fabulous places I've ever been. I really wasn't sure if the 3D footage was going to work out. I really was not. I brought the 3D camera and I wanted to hedge my bets, and so I shot enough 2D footage that I could just run with that if I needed to. And I just shot a few elements of 3D. I shot Bridal Veil Falls. I shot an introduction at the tunnel view with Bunny and Amelia. And then I shot sunset at the tunnel view. And the sunset was absolutely amazing. I had planned what kind of shot I was going to do and what my settings needed to be and stuff like that. I had figured I wanted to do a time lapse of the tunnel view. It was going to be sunset and it was going to be a landscape. And film without movement is a photograph. You have to have movement in a video to really make it be a movie, you know. That's kind of the point. It's right there in the word movie, right? So you have to have motion. And so I thought the best way to add motion would be to do a time lapse. And we lucked out in that the sunset was incredible. And the clouds, because I was shooting a time lapse, the clouds moved across the valley like just this incredible dance. It was spectacular. It was gorgeous. The thing is, shooting VR video in 2025 is a lot like shooting film 100 years ago, in that you don't know what you're going to get until you get it back to your computer and you put it through some software and then you load it up on a headset and you look at it. And it's really a pain to be out there shooting the footage and not knowing what you're getting. And so I didn't know what I was going to get out of my footage of the Yosemite Valley there. I didn't have a lot of time outside of the shooting that we were doing and stuff. I knew it was going to be probably weeks before I'd get a chance to actually see the footage on my headset. And I knew I couldn't wait that long. I knew that I had to see what I had gotten so that I could know if I was wasting my time, if all of this had been a waste of money, if all of this had been a mistake. Like, all of this could have been a mistake. So late that night, after everyone else was in bed, I pulled out my cards from the camera and I loaded them up into my laptop and I took a look at what I got. It was gorgeous. It had all been worth it. I couldn't believe it. And I decided right then and there that I needed to do more. I needed to do much more. In fact, I needed to do much more on this trip. So I decided the next day I was going to use my Insta360 Pro 2. And I was going to use that and I was going to set that up to do dedicated 3D video. Now, one of the interesting things about the Insta360 Pro 2 that was important to me in that moment was, first of all, I wanted to see how it performed as a 3D camera, really putting it through its paces. The Canon is incredible. The Canon is probably the best 3D camera that I've ever used. And so I really wanted to put the Insta360 Pro 2 through its paces. That's the first thing. But secondly, the cool thing about the Insta360 Pro 2 is that it shoots in 360 degrees. And it shoots 360 degrees 3D, which means that you can plunk this thing out there and you can get different angles of the same location in real time. So in other words, I can get 3D video of the waterfall, and I can also get 3D video of my reaction to it because I'm standing on the other side of that camera. A lot of VR video that's out there today is 360 degree flat video, which is not what I'm doing. I'm doing VR 180. VR 180 is a half a sphere. So I can take any video from the Insta360 Pro and I can actually make at least two angles of that video, one facing front and one facing back. So I've got twice the amount of 3D video as the Canon R5. That said, the tools and the capabilities and the workflow with the Canon R5 are significantly better than the Insta360 Pro. And so generally speaking, I do prefer to use the Canon R5. But I wanted to see, could I use the Insta360 and could I make it create the kind of videos that I was looking for? Could I make it, would it work well? How would it work with focus and things like that? One of the big challenges with the Canon is everything's manual. I have to make sure I'm getting the focus right. I have to make sure I've got the aperture right and everything. But the Insta360 Pro does all that for me. It's just basically like a point and shoot. It's like a big action camera. I just plop it down and I get video of everything. So I decided the next day when we went back to Yosemite, I was going to try and use the 3D camera, the Insta360, as sort of my main workhorse camera of the day, and then just use the Canon as a secondary camera for sort of documenting the process. So I started out the day by mounting the Insta360 Pro 2 on the truck mount in the back of my truck so that I could test that out and see how that worked coming through the tunnel into the tunnel view. And I went ahead and I included that in my video, so that came out pretty good. I was pretty happy with that. There were some different shots that I was able to get at that. I was able to look at, like, what was it like looking straight forward through the car? What would it look like if I looked off to the right instead or to the left? And I was able to experiment with a lot of that footage, and so that worked out really well. After going through the tunnel view, we went on to Yosemite Falls. Now, we only really had about a half a day there because we had to get from there to the coast that day. So we went down to the visitor center and we parked and we walked to Lower Yosemite Falls. Is this little guy right here? Mm-hmm. And we are there-ish, mm-hmm. right? And yesterday, it was yesterday, we walked up here over to here. About 2/3 of the way into it, we came across a fork in the road. Oh, you're here. Woodpecker.
Where?
On the side of the tree, right here.
Oh, cool.
See the woodpecker?
Oh, yeah.
The red head?
Yeah.
Affiliated woodpecker.
Woody the woodpecker.
Yep. So this is a trail to the falls view. I don't know what that is. I want to get closer, so this is not that important to me, but if either of you think it's worthwhile...
I would like to go that way. I would like to go both ways. I know that sucks. But...
Well, I'm kind of wondering, like, I want to make sure that your strength is there for the day. And that's why I'm wondering if we need to pick and choose a little bit. I don't know. It's up to you if we want to do this one or not. I can take it or leave it.
So my hiker instinct is that you think this trail is shorter than it actually is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
So that's
why I'm mentioning it.
Yeah.
I was looking at. It's got the mileage on there. I could tell us exactly how many miles it is if you actually want to know.
No,
but I know
even. But I think it's more than we're gonna want to do.
I can walk fast. I can get up there. I can
okay,
take
you
the
go
shot,
that way. I'm gonna go that way.
Yeah, if you guys are okay with that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't want to wear you guys out today. And I'm working really hard at trying not to do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you're okay with that, let's go do that.
Yeah.
I love you both.
Yeah.
You're going to get a great view, get some photos down there. I'm going to get a great view up here, and I'll get some photos up here. Well, I've left the ladies behind, which is A-okay. And now I'm headed to the Lower Falls viewpoint, hopefully to get some 3D footage. Got the Insta360 on my shoulder. Wish me luck. as I was walking to Lower Yosemite Falls, I come across a group of people that have just stopped in their tracks. And they are completely silent, and they're looking at something. And I look, and I see it. It's a bobcat. A bobcat that has just gotten itself a squirrel. And it is headed off to eat that squirrel. And it is probably maybe 30 yards ahead of me. But I also had my Canon R5C with a 15 to 35 millimeter lens on it. And that 15 to 35 millimeter lens is the wrong lens to take a picture of wildlife way off in the distance. My plan was to use it to basically record some dialogue while I was at the waterfall. I wanted a photo of that bobcat so badly, but I knew in that moment there was no way I was going to be able to change the lens fast enough and get the shot off. If there's any advice I can give you, particularly for wildlife photography and things like that, if you're presented with an incredible photograph and you have the wrong lens on your camera, before you do anything else, take the photo. Just take it. Take the photo with whatever lens you have on there. Some of those photos were okay. Some of them were a little blurry. I was so nervous. I was so excited. I wanted those pictures so bad. And I just kept clicking, click, 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 hoping I would get something good. The bobcat walked from where it got the squirrel. It walked down and across this creek. And that spot right there where it's crossing the creek, that was the perfect spot to get that shot. The light was like a spotlight in this little clearing. Here's what I love about this photo. First of all, the forest is glowing. The light is just amazing. And it's almost like the forest has focused the light down into this one little spot where this bobcat is crossing a creek. And because of the light, it was reflecting from the ground up onto the trees around the bobcat. There are these 3 trees around the bobcat. To me, like this sort of subtle symbolism is there. So seeing the 3 trees in that photo with the bobcat in the middle of it with the squirrel in its mouth tells a story. Like, that's the thing that I love about this photo, is more than maybe any other photo I've ever taken, this photo tells a story. You look at this photo and at first you think, oh, isn't this a lovely wildlife scene with the trees and the light and the leaves and so on and so forth. But then you notice the bobcat and you kind of go, oh wait, there's a bobcat, wait. And then you go, oh my gosh, wait, there's a squirrel in its mouth. And it reveals itself as you look at it. And I love that about that photo. I love that you can stop and you can study it and you can look at it and you can think about it. So I think that may be my favorite photo that I have taken so far.
Well, I made it. Let's get a little wider angle on this. There we go. I made it all the way out here. Super excited. I've got the 360 Pro running over here. Wipe the lenses real quick. So I'm just going to let it run for a couple of minutes, get some shots, and then I'm going to do some photos as well. It's just incredible. I have no words.
I did go on to Yosemite Falls and I recorded that in 3D. If you'd like to watch that, there's a link in the description below. It's totally worth watching and you should definitely do that. It's absolutely gorgeous. In particular, I really want to draw your attention to the mountaintops in those videos. If you look at the clouds up there, they're kind of wisping off of the tops of the mountains and they just look fabulous. So definitely go check out those videos. The end result of that, the end result of the 3D video that I shot that day, is that I realized that it is absolutely possible to do the kind of filmmaking that I want. It is possible to capture the kinds of immersive experiences that I have been wanting to capture for 30 years. The technology is finally here, and I am going to use it, and I am going to show you how to use it, and I am going to tell some incredible stories. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you click that subscription button. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Green Jeep Adventures. Make sure you click that notification bell if you want to get notified of new videos when these come out. I've got more coming. Next time, I think we're going to be visiting Fort Bragg and Glass Beach. I think you're going to enjoy that very much. Keep adventuring. See you next week.